I'm always amazed that there's a lot of reporters in Washington, and there still remains huge parts of the U.S. government that are uncovered. And I've, as a reporter, tried to focus in on these parts of government that no one else is covering. And specifically, in this case, there's an agency called the U.S. Export-Import Bank that is financing projects all around the world under the auspices of the United States government. And they actually have $110 billion worth of loans out. And that's a lot of money, and it has an effect. And so we wanted to sort of follow the thread of one of the biggest projects they've ever financed. And that led us to another project that's right next to it. And they're big liquefied natural gas projects that have a big footprint, and they're both being developed within the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Site. The community in the area we visited where the projects are being developed is pretty divided right now. And there's an outspoken and angry group of residents who, in this small town called Gladstone, who believe the projects are bad for their community and bad for the environment. And they've been getting press, and bad for the fishing industry, and they've been getting press as well. So there's been a large outreach and public relations effort by an agency called the Gladstone Port Corporation, which is in charge of the port.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Gladstone Ports Corporation Western Basin Harbour Cruise.
And their job has been to prepare the ports for these big projects.
This is a 2-hour cruise. We'll be taking you past a number of the developments that are happening in the Gladstone Harbour.
And that involved a massive dredging project, I think the largest dredging project in Australia's history.
That's pretty much to facilitate mainly the LNG ships that will be coming into Curtis Island, which we'll talk about as we're going past.
And so one of the things that the Gladstone Port Corporation has been doing is holding monthly tours for Gladstone residents only, where they give them a boat ride around the harbor. They give them a sandwich and some drinks, and they show their side of the story. They're trying to show that the projects are going to be good for the environment or won't impact the environment. They're trying to show that the projects will be good for the local economy, and they want to show that they've really worked hard to ensure these two things.
The initial annual capacity of the LNG plant here, once it's built, will be between 3 million and 4 million tonnes. And they're hoping to be ready to be exported by early 2015.
They were clearly pretty guarded about our visit. They would not allow us to go to the projects on the ground and film them, but ultimately we convinced them to allow us to ride on this boat. So this was an opportunity for us to get some clean, steady footage of the projects that we were telling the story about, and also hear what their side of the story was, which is important. That's what we want to do. But it turned out to be more interesting than that.
QC3 with tray on board.
We went on the boat, and we brought along, because we wanted to hear what she had to say as well, a woman named Cheryl Watson, who is a local resident who lives on the island where they're developing these two projects, and she's been an outspoken opponent of the projects.
I cannot believe that our government has allowed this destruction.
Coincidentally, there was a French camera crew that was also on board because they're filming a project for French TV about the Great Barrier Reef, and so they were on board as well.
This is why I shouldn't have let her on.
There was a point on the tour where Cheryl Watson was disputing some of the things that the tour guide, Kieran Morgan, was saying. And the French camera crew was interviewing her.
If I knew she was coming on here, I probably wouldn't have put you on here, because she's extremely biased against the entire project.
And Kieran Morgan stormed out of the captain's cabin and confronted the crew and asked them to stop talking to her.
I'd rather you didn't. If she's going to walk around and keep talking about the project and stuff and the falsities of the project, you're here as our guest, so I'd rather you didn't. Sorry? You're here as our guest, so I'd rather you didn't speak to Cheryl, because she's completely biased against the project.
What's wrong with free speech? You're trying to stop her having her say. Come on.
And at that point, it became a bit of an incident, because everyone who was on the boat suddenly their attention was turned to this conflict. The camera crew was questioning why they weren't allowed to speak to this woman, and we kind of faded into the background and started filming, because for us, suddenly this embodied in real time what the story was, which was these two polar opposites in the same community that were fighting over this project that was going to have a big impact, whether it's good or bad or somewhere in between. Americans should really care about this because A, there's a U.S. government agency that is providing financing for projects that are having an impact on the Great Barrier Reef, which is one of the World Heritage Sites, and it's the largest stretch of living coral. It's home to more than 1,000 different kinds of fish and endangered species like sea turtles and dugongs. And we should care. We should care what our government does no matter what. And in this case, our government is financing projects that UNESCO, a UN agency, and environmentalists and many others say is having a detrimental effect on one of the world's most spectacular sites.